Lagers, Pilsners, India Pale Ales, double IPAs, Doppelbocks, Belgian Goldens. That's right, it's all here on another round of Brewsday Tuesday. Here's DreZ and Big Nate.
Brewsday Tuesday. Right here on 105.3 The Bear. It is DreZ and Big Nate popping tops from Belize. I just got the Belkin traditional recipe stout, the Stout of Belize. It says right here, family-owned Belkin Stout is uniquely Belizean, I guess. Bold yet smooth, the stout for Belize is brewed for those who go de strong. Okay, I'll take their word for it. 6.5% ABV. Now we're talking. So this is the stout is the one, like I mentioned, we went to that Belize restaurant after the snorkeling, and this was the one that the guy, like I asked him what beers he had, and I think I started with maybe that one actually, the one that you have. But then and he said, we got a stout that's really good. The stout is nice and smooth and good. So he was a fan of the stout. I was like, all right, we'll give it a shot. So this is not my first time having this stout, by the way.
It will be my first time when I try it after the show.
It is my first time having it out of a can, though.
I would wager to say first round was probably my first experience with any Belizean product, as far as I know. So this will be my second. Belkin beer, the traditional recipe beer. It just says beer a bunch on here.
Beer.
They really want you to know it's the beer of Belize. And so much so that on this side of this one, it says family owned. Belkin beer is a Belizean style there we go. Belizean style lager brewed by Belizeans for Belizeans and all those who love Belize. So they're all about Belize and beer. And you know what? All aboard. Oh, and it's 4.8% ABV, 296 ml. I'm terrible with the metric system, so I'm not even going to try and convert that, but I feel like it's probably like an 8-ounce can.
Yeah, well, I feel like it's more than 8, but less than 12.
Probably 10. I can't imagine it being an odd number.
Yeah, these are definitely interesting size cans, that's for sure. So before I get back to Belize, I wanted to address, because if you're listening to this on the podcast or on the YouTube or whatever, then you might have missed it. But the song we just played is not a song that usually gets played on the Bear airwaves.
We had to dig it up.
In fact, yeah, we had to dig it out. We had to dig it up. So, but the reason I played that song, Trogs, by the way, is because that song, it's Trogs' Wild Thing. That song actually got me a bit of a nickname. So when we were on the cruise, there's a lot of things you can do on the cruise ship to entertain yourself. There was we went to like a bunch of different trivias. In fact, they had a few different like song and music and rock trivia ones. They had some movie trivia, this trivia, that trivia, whatever. But they also had a couple of karaoke nights.
Oh.
And believe it or not, I did get in on the second to last night, I believe it was. And I signed up, didn't know if I was going to make the cut or not. But sure enough, I was the last one up, was feeling pretty good. It was the end of the night. Like, I don't know, this might have been 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And I did karaoke to Trogs, because that was in my list of karaoke keeps, the ones that I can do pretty good. And I figured it's an older crowd, so they might appreciate an older song. And I actually introed it by saying, I'm a big craft beer guy, and I love both Trogs. I love Trogs the brewery, so I figured Trogs the band, I could sing this little ditty. So I busted into Wild Thing, obviously brought the house down, totally killed it, as you would expect. And then what was funny was that for the rest of the cruise, every now and then somebody would be like, like I get in the elevator and they'd be like, "You're Wild Thing, aren't you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the Wild Thing."
So you got called a lot of things on the ship that weren't DreZ, because last time
nobody actually,
using
I don't think anybody called me DreZ
and then
on the cruise ship. That's
Wild Thing is your other name. It's a man with many aliases.
Yeah, I think the following day I had it. I want to say by the end, because that was, like I said, it was our second to last day. So we only had the final day at sea. But I think that following day, at least, I want to say 6 or 7 different people had like, it was like, oh, you did the karaoke last night. You were Wild Thing. I was like, yeah. So it was, it went over well. So it was kind of fun to have that be one of the last thing. I should have done it sooner. We should have done karaoke earlier. I could have
Now-
been Wild Thing the whole
Yeah,
ship.
give it a Wild Thing the
That would
whole
have been
trip.
fun. Yeah, that would have been good. But so that was fun. But yeah, all right. So getting back to Belize. So one of the other things that we did on the little snorkel excursion thing was they had some sardines, which for those that don't know, when I think of sardines, I mainly just think about,
We get them in cans.
the pizza topping and they're little itty bitty ones, but some of the sardines are bigger, but they had those as feeders. So at one point, BB strapped a sardine, actually stuck her finger in the mouth of the fish. And they had these birds. I can't remember what the names of the birds were because this was so long ago. They were some type of bird. They weren't pelicans. I know that much. They weren't the damn pelicans that I hate, but there was some type of bird that was like flying behind the boat, and we were just cruising along. And you just hold your finger up, and these birds just come down and take the fish right off your finger, which was kind of fun. And then we also used those same sardines to go and feed the turpin, which I don't know if you've ever done that. We actually did it in the down in the Florida Keys when we went on our first RV trip, the big RV trip. We went down there, and that's where I started to hate pelicans because we got this like bucket of sardines, and you can go and you can feed these huge. I mean, these were like the ones on Belize were like baby turbans, so they were maybe like 4 feet long, but down in the Keys they were like gigantic. They were 6 feet long. These huge fish, and basically you just hold the fish down over the water, like a foot above the water, and these things just like come up and just go for it, dude. It's pretty crazy. So we did a little bit of that as well down there, and so that was kind of fun. And and BB was actually, there was a few different people on the boat feeding them, and BB had the perfect view to film it. She was like right at the side, got an angle of both people feeding it, and she was taking video on her work phone because her work phone, she could roam because like we didn't have service down there because we didn't want to pay the like $10 a day for international, but for her work to still keep in contact with her, they had to do that. So we brought her phone when we were out doing the excursions and stuff. So she had her phone and she was filming. At least she thought she was filming.
Oh no.
So it's an iPhone. We're not used to iPhones.
Yeah.
And she did it backwards. So basically all of the videos from that
Were
bit,
pictures?
no, the videos were when she thought it wasn't recording. So like her trying to like frame the shot and talking whatever and like facing down on the like looking at the bottom of the boat or whatever. And then she frames it up and then the video stops because then she hit record and like didn't record the stuff she meant to record. So she was, needless to say, she was extremely upset about that by the time we got back because she got some great, well, she thought she had some great video, and it was the exact opposite of that. So
That in itself is a great memory.
she's like, I hate iPhones, stupid iPhones.
I agree with her that if you hand me an iPhone, it's not going to go well. So I fully empathize, but that's hilarious.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shame. What was funny was that we didn't even find that out until like the next day or something when we were looking to go back at the photos and videos, and yeah, BB was not happy about that, but yeah, so Belize was certainly the highlight. And it was funny because we actually they had these little seminars on the boat where leading up to going to a port, there's a guy kind of giving you some history of the area and maybe some things you might want to do, some highlights. And when it came to Belize, he was basically like, there's not a whole lot in Belize you're going to want, unless you have an excursion plan. So I was like, oh, great. Well, we don't. So we potentially could have walked a long way to go see like some church. Otherwise, there was like a baboon sanctuary we could have checked out, but
that would have been cool.
maybe, I don't know. We got lucky that we were able to just swoop in and
Snorkel.
and snorkel and do that. The shark and stingray snorkel was really cool. I highly recommend it. And speaking of tips, when it came to the tips on that one, the guy actually said, we appreciate it, whatever, but what is really beneficial is if you guys wouldn't mind, like if you had a good time, write us a review online. And that's what I was thinking, because honestly, we almost didn't go with this company because there were some bad reviews. So my thought was, you know what? That is going to be my tip to this guy. I'm going to write like a really good review and say how much we enjoyed it on Facebook as well as Google. And I think that, and honestly, that is probably way more valuable than
that brings
$4
more
or
people in.
$5 or $10 or whatever, like, because seriously, like I said, because we were looking at different ones to try and book it, but it was too last minute. And this company was like, that's where they meet. So we figured, okay, we can go there and see. And sure enough, they were able to get us in. But I was like, we probably don't want to book with this company because all these bad reviews. Basically, the main thing that they were saying was that they booked this so far in advance, and then like they got there and there wasn't anybody there. They didn't show up. And I'm like, well, we're not gonna have to worry about that, because if they're not there, then they're not there, and we're not gonna do it, obviously.
Yeah, no, and that's
so I wasn't so worried about that. I guess if you actually went on it, you had a good time. But I suppose that's what, and I don't remember the name of it because it's been so long, so I'm not going to give them a plug on the air, but it's something Splash. So if you go to Belize, it's something Splash. Splash something with, oh God, what was the guy's name?
Accidentally buy a Tom Hanks DVD while you're down there.
All right. I still never seen
Trent
it.
said this is great.
I still never seen that movie, actually. Doesn't he like fall in love with a mermaid or something?
Yeah. Cindy keeps trying to get us to watch that. I don't love Tom Hanks so much. Like I've not like avoided things because he's in it, but that one just sounds like too much for me.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be a hard sell, but I've heard it's good. I don't know. I like Tom Hanks.
I like Saving Private Ryan, but I think that's about
Forrest
it.
Gump.
I don't love that movie. It's got a great soundtrack, but
What about The Terminal? Did you ever see The Terminal?
I-
Or Castaway? Or
I didn't love Castaway.
I didn't really
I've
like
not
Castaway
seen The
that much
Terminal.
either.
I do. It regularly like pop up as like suggested for me, and I am intrigued because it's a true story, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a really intriguing story, but it's
Philadelphia?
not the most uplifting movie.
No, I'm not talking about uplifting.
I
but
don't
just
think I don't think he lacks talent. It's just
Money
not
Pit.
been
You gotta love the Money Pit.
I
Or Big. Big was great.
didn't like Big. Like
What?
I just and
You
I
just
don't know
like
what
Tom
it is. I
Hanks?
don't like Tom Hanks.
Why are you hating
I like
on
Toy
Tom Hanks?
Story. It's just he's never been in anything that like has really appealed to me.
Hmm.
I'm sure he's a fabulous guy. He seems like a great person.
He actually does seem like he is one of those actors that you hear people say how
like,
nice he was.
I'm sure I would be thrilled if I met him, but it's just never going. So no, I've not seen Splash. Because
Interesting.
don't
You might
love
be the
Tom
first
Hanks,
person
and
I've ever met that doesn't like Tom Hanks.
It's just never been my thing.
Hmm.
Like I'm trying to think
Well,
back about
you
what
learn
that like
something new every
Tom
Brewsday
Hanks was
Tuesday.
in that like I really enjoyed, and I can't.
Ah, man, I just listed a whole bunch of good stuff.
I can't do it. That's okay. The way I feel about Tom Hanks is the way my wife feels about Tom Cruise. See, I love Tom Cruise as an actor.
She doesn't like Tom
He's probably
Cruise?
an absolute weirdo, but she like
Yeah.
doesn't like his acting.
He's okay. I mean, he's done some decent one. He kind
I
of
love The Firm.
he
Mission
definitely
Impossible
has he
movies.
definitely has a he probably gets kind of typecast at this point because I feel like he's almost the same sort of person in every movie, really.
Yeah, I think that's very true, but he didn't start out that way. I mean, you look at like The Outsiders, The Firm, and then it just morphed into all
Risky
of a sudden he's
Business.
an action hero.
Yeah.
But like young Tom Cruise, I was a fan. Again, seems like a
Outsiders.
total
Wow.
weirdo.
I think that was his first movie, wasn't it?
Yep.
That was like a lot of those people's first movies. I had star-studded cast.
It really did.
Great book.
Like they didn't know it then, but now they could bill it as like a fantastic cast and ensemble because there were so many great actors in that.
Yeah.
Interesting factoid: the house they used in the movie is owned by Danny Boy from House of Pain, and he's turned it into an Outsiders museum.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh. I did not know that.
That's
Where
what he
is
does
it?
with his time? I don't remember where it's at, but he's like him and I. interact on Facebook, and I always see him posting about it. Like
Some-
that's all he does.
It's obviously, it must be somewhere on the East Coast, or though, I don't know, maybe because, Hollywood and stuff, they might have filmed it over there, but I'm pretty sure Outsiders was set on the East Coast.
Yes.
But I can't remember if it was, I want to say like Pennsylvania somewhere,
It does
Pittsburgh,
feel like
Philly,
it's
or
there,
something
yeah.
like that, but I could be totally wrong. We digress quite a bit. So, as I thought and expected, and you can, confirm or deny, but Belican beer is, I think, a bit more. I specifically wanted these ones, even though I had them before. I could have brought back bottles that I hadn't had, but A, you run the risk of them breaking in the luggage, and B, the cans will just travel better and potentially taste better. So Belican's been around since 1969. Giggity, giggity. I feel like they know what they're doing, man. This beer is actually pretty decent. And finally get a decent ABV. I didn't realize that when I ordered it in Belize that it had 6.5%. So maybe that's why I like this stout. And I'm not a big stout guy, but it is nice, easy drinking, very smooth. I'm gonna give this one probably the best of the whole from last week into this week. I think last week I don't think anything got above a 3, honestly.
No.
And this isn't amazing, but I'm gonna give this beer a legit. And this is kind of what I just rank stouts generally. But it's right up there with all the other stouts, I'd say. I'm going to give it like a 3.5. It's
Okay.
decent stout. Nothing too crazy. Maybe I'll give it a 3.75.
So I'm looking at mine again, and I just noticed a little emblem here on the sign. You know how a lot of places are proud of their product being made in. This one says made of Belize.
Made of Belize.
But when you think about it, if they're using local farm raised ingredients, that's not the craziest thing in the world.
Yeah, it does say made of Belize, but I mean, yeah, I would imagine it's made in there. I mean, when you're, I think that's just fun wording that they're going for. Oh, we do have a telephone number. It's a 1-800 number.
Oh,
Should we give them a call and tell them we like it?
no, that's 0800.
Oh, you're right. It's a 0-800 number. I don't know how much that's going to cost us.
It's not our phone line. We don't pay the bill.
We could give it a shot.
Yeah, I think that would stop. This is, I mean, lager's never been my style, so it's not going to get the highest marks. But this is pretty solid. I mean, it's a good outing. I think there would be worse beers to hang your hat on, calling the beer of your nation. I'm going to give it a 3.25.
3.25 out of 5 on the Untapped scale for the Belican Lager. Well, that's a wrap on the Belize. Thankfully, I'm finally done with the cruise shows because, like I said, I don't know much more about it. It was forever ago at this point.
Just look back at the video.
I've gone on vacation already again since then. I had a wedding, which we might be delving into that on the next show.
Ooh.
We shall see.
Little tease.
There you go. That's a wrap on Brewsday, as well as a wrap from me. Coming up next, we got JT up with Just Tunes. Stick around.